So it wasn't that they weren't sorry. It wasn't that they didn't feel bad or feel regret for what they did. They didn't feel bad how I wanted them to feel bad.
I've been all over the world, you know, and I've seen the finest wine, and I've seen the finest times, but all the pretty girls come from VA.
I'm so mad. I said so much good things and I didn't record any of it. Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. It is your girl B back with another video. First things first, if this is your first time here on my channel, welcome. I hope you enjoyed today's video and choose to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with all of my videos. And if you are a returning subscriber, welcome back, gang. We are locked in and I love that for us. Yeah, and if you're someone who watches my video but has yet to subscribe to the channel, go ahead. Sorry y'all, that's shy. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button because I promise you will love it here. I have so much great content and I have so many more videos specifically like this if this is the type of videos that you are into. So I'm super excited today because this video, I just had the urge to really record and to post, and it's been a while since I really felt the need to come and speak on something that I've been reading biblically. I was like, you know what, we're gonna sit, we're gonna try it out and see if you have a word today. So God, I ask that you just guide me in this moment to allow me to say the things that you have shown me, the things that you've revealed to me through your word, and allow me to kind of share it with whoever is watching so that they can too feel connected to the word, bringing them a little bit closer to you by understanding how you work and how you have designed for us to behave in this life. So let's jump to it. I've been reading 2 Samuel for the last week and a half maybe, and I got to the story of Absalom and his relationship with his father David. And this particular story is interesting to me because I find that Absalom was somewhat justified in his response to the events that had taken place. So for those of you who don't know, Absalom was one of King David's sons. And Absalom had a sister named Tamar who was also David's daughters. Now one of David's other sons, Amnon, was in love with Tamar, who was his half-sister. That already sounds a little weird. Like, that's actually disturbing. But to take it a step further, Amnon took advantage of Tamar and took her innocence and then sent her on her way. So not only did he defile her by having inappropriate, unwanted relations with her, he then went on to kind of ruin her ability to be married, to get with someone else, because she was no longer pure during those times. So he disgraced her to the utmost level. And when you think about that, like, that's his half sister, so that's very disturbing. They were all children of David. That also to me ties into the whole, you are not supposed to sow your seeds everywhere. You're not meant to have children with multiple people, because I feel like that's just disgusting. Like, whatever. King David did not address the situation. He did not rebuke his son Amnon. He just kind of left it as it was. Now Tamar, who is Absalom's full sister, felt like this is unacceptable. He took revenge into his own hands. Being a woman, I'm like, I see that. Like, I feel like your father is supposed to go that hard for you. And in the event that your father can't, your brother is supposed to. That is my personal opinion. So 2 years later, after nothing had been done to Amnon, Absalom sought revenge and dealt with Amnon. Now, after he did that, he fled. He fled because he didn't know how his father was going to react, because he did such a heinous thing. Now, in me reading that, I'm like, he protected his sister. Like, that's how I read that. And I felt like in that one instance, he was justified. The issue that then happens is after that event took place, Absalom continued to kind of have a hatred towards his father, where he behaved in a way that caused more chaos. So the king's servant devised this plan to kind of reconcile them, which he did, and Absalom worked at the gates. During this time, Absalom would build relationships with other people so that he can have an uprising against King David and his servants. So at the conclusion of all these events happening, Absalom ends up deceased at the hands of King David's servant, because they were at war, they were at battle. It was a him or them type of situation. Now, King David did not want Absalom to, you know, go out that way, but King David's servant knew that it had to be done. His son essentially was trying to unalive him, so he was like, no, we can't let him live. So he took it upon himself to deal with him. Now, there are so many things that happen in this segment of 2 Samuel. If you want to get more into detail about this specific event, I would say read 2 Samuel 14 through 18, I believe, or 14 through 19, and you'll actually see how it plays out. One of the takeaways that I got from these specific chapters is the fact that Absalom was right until he was wrong. And I feel like a lot of us have that kind of mindset. Some of us feel so vindicated when something has happened to us and we seek revenge. We think that because people have acted a way towards us or those that we love, that gives us the license to now act however we want. And how we behave goes so far beyond karma, goes so far beyond payback, and justifiable reactions, that it becomes toxic behavior. So with Absalom, right, his main thing was that you disgraced my sister and now you have to be dealt with. And he dealt with his brother. Now he did that and King David forgave him, but didn't know how to be around him after that transpired. Yes, his son did a terrible thing, but David was still mourning him. And I have no comments on that, right? Like, that's his right as a father to mourn his son. But I think Absalom didn't identify that while Amnon did this horrible thing, he was still King David's son. So he's still diving through that. I feel like it can be argued that Absalom's behavior towards Amnon was justified, right? I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I'm saying in that moment, it was justified. However, everything after that was pure toxicness. Everything after that was him being so wrapped up in being right that he didn't really see how everything else he did after that point was actually against what he was supposed to be doing. It went past being revenge to just being evil. I feel like culturally we think that's okay. We feel like if you hurt me, I'm going to hurt you 10 times more. If you hurt me, I'm gonna get you back and then some. And that is what Absalom did. He not only got back at Amnon, but he got back at King David because he felt like King David didn't handle the situation as he was supposed to when it came to Absalom's sister and King David's daughter. He felt like he just let things go and was too easy about the entire situation. I can say for me, there has been plenty of times where like I felt like someone wasn't sorry enough. So it wasn't that they weren't sorry. It wasn't that they didn't feel bad or feel regret for what they did. They didn't feel bad how I wanted them to feel bad. They didn't try to make it up how I wanted them to make it up. They didn't address the situation how I felt that they needed to address the situation. And because of that, I held this grudge a lot longer than I needed to. I acted nasty and mean to them when I didn't need to. And I feel like that is a lot of people, because we feel like we were right in how we felt in that moment and we were right in our actions initially, that everything we do afterwards is justifiable. And it's absolutely not, because God calls us to love one another, to love our neighbor, to be kind, to be forgiving, be empathetic to people, and love people despite what they may have done for us. And that's a lot easier than how it sounds. And I know for me, I've been on the receiving end of that, but I've also been on the giving end of that. And I can be very transparent about that. Like, it's so easy for me to say I made a mistake and this person just held on to it and just kept it going and made it bigger than what it was and never tried to see my side of the picture, even though what I may have done was unintentional. But then on the flip side of that, someone could say they did X to me and I just blew it way out of proportion, which I have done. Like, I'm not gonna lie and say I haven't. It's that question you gotta ask yourself, like, how much is too much? how long am I really supposed to be mad at you? How long am I supposed to hold something against you? How long am I supposed to seek revenge? 2 years to seek revenge on someone seems like a long time, because you've been plotting this entire time, waiting for the opportunity to pay them back. And that's a lot of hate. That's a lot of hatred built up in your heart over 2 years. That is a long time. And that's why God calls us to forgive people, because the more you hold on to it, the longer you hold on to it, the more bitter you'll become, the more damage you'll want to do to someone else. And then once you do it, you can't undo it. Like, the idea of revenge feels so much better than the actual act of revenge most of the time. My absolute moment happened between me and someone who I grew up with, and we were very tight, very close. From when we were small, and an incident happened where I felt isolated from that person. Like, I felt like they were isolating me from how things normally would go. And it happened a few times, and then there was this one specific time where I kind of called it out, and for whatever reason it went to a place that is outside of my character. Like, it got to a place like, we could go there if you want to go there. I promise y'all that's not me. So it was just crazy to see, like, that's where our relationship had gotten. And even to this day, I still feel like I was justifiable in that moment of feeling that way and reacting that way. The issue came days later, where I was standing on business like, no, I'm not talking to you because you were wrong, and you won't admit that you're wrong, or you won't apologize how I want you to apologize, or you won't try to rectify the situation how I feel like you should rectify the situation. So because you're not doing it that way, I am no longer talking to you. And that was probably the worst decision to make, because that caused the situation to draw out longer than it needed to. And I feel like the reason why I'm like, nope, we're not doing that, isn't so much because of this person. It's because how I see relationship with multiple people, and I brought in that toxicity that I felt with other people into that relationship with that person. So, like, even though they were wrong on that occasion and a few other occasions, it did not warrant the response, or it warranted the response that they got, but then I took it beyond what was justifiable. And they reached out to me months later, and I was just like, nah, like, you can't reach out to me now and think everything's gonna be cool. Like, what? I end up making that situation worse than what it needed to be, because I was holding on to the anger or the hurt that I had felt in that moment. It should have been, I'm hurt today, we're gonna talk about it today, and that's it. And then when they reached out to me again, okay, let's have a conversation about it. But it was, for me, more so like, you waited too long, so now I don't even want to have that conversation with you. And this, again, is someone who I grew up with. We were like freaking frack. So now be like, we're cool, like, we see each other, we hang out every once in a while, but like, that relationship of how it was, of us growing up until a couple years ago, is very different. And I feel like, had I just let it go, we would have been able to get back to how we was. But now we aren't. And you know, it might be God's will for us not to be that close anymore, but I also understand that I dragged it. And that's just like one example of me doing that. Like, I have big ego, big pride, and I feel like and the problem is that I feel like I can forgive you for anything that you do, right? As long as you are accountable for it. But if you're not accountable with how I think you should be accountable, then I'm not gonna forgive you, because it's the principle. And it's really not the principle. Like, I am just a human servant of God, and it's like, I can't tell people how they need to act. I can tell people how they make me feel, and if we both agree to salvage your relationship, then we can. But I can't play judge, jury, and plaintiff. Like, I can't be all three of those things. So I say that to say, like, I have seen myself be absent, and that's just one example. There's like several. Like, There are several examples that I can give where I started out knowing that I was right in how I was feeling, but it moved past me being right to me being, now I need to get back to you. Now I need to make you feel worse than I felt. I need to make you feel that hurt and that pain that you caused me, but 10 times more. So it's like, you took $5 from me. All right, now I'm going to take $10 from you. I'm going to take your lunch and I'm going to take your shoes. Like, the three things don't really make sense, but to me it was like, that's how I know you're gonna feel what you did and know what you did was wrong. And that's not right. I feel like if someone knows that they are right, well, even if someone doesn't know, God calls us to forgive people even when they haven't apologized. So that's one. I cannot hold on to being mad at you for years. Like, Absalom held on to that anger he had for his brother for 2 years, right? And after he dealt with his brother, he held on to that anger that he had for his father for years to come, because he was in, I think it was Gerashite for 2 years. And then Job called him and told him to return to the kingdom. Then he worked at the gates for, I want to say, another 2 years. And during that time, he built up his army so that they could fight against King David and his army. So that is a long time to be holding on to that pain and that hurt that someone had done to you. Especially when it wasn't intentional. King David didn't handle the situation how he was supposed to, but it wasn't because he didn't love Absalom, and it wasn't because he didn't love Tamar. If you read the passages when Absalom passed away, David mourned. He mourned so much to the point that his servant was like, yo, what are you doing? These people defeated him in your honor, and you're sitting here mourning your son when they saved you. And he was like, you would have been more happy had Absalom killed all of them, but he had lived. So it's not that David didn't love his son. He just didn't respond in a way that Absalom felt was justified for everything that was done. And like I said, that has been so many of us. That has been me plenty of times. When someone does you wrong, just really think like, can I let this go? What do I need to do to let this go? Not forget, but just let it go, forgive them, and move on. I don't want to hurt. I don't want to hold on to the hurt. I don't want to hold on to the anger. Even though you're right to feel hurt and betrayed by somebody, that anger is going to lead you to do things that you are not supposed to do. That hurt is going to lead you to behave in a way that is not of God. That's going to cause you to go against all the commandments that God has set for us. It's going to cause you to sin. It's going to cause you to hurt even more people. Not just the person you are looking to intentionally hurt, but their family, their friends, even your other family members, your other friends. So you just have to keep that in mind. That's all I wanted to share with you guys today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you made it to the end of this video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Promise you'll love it here. So much great content. And I will see y'all in my next video.
New York and MIA, then it's PG around my way, so I'm never had to stay away.